This particular gazette that was put forward in December of all times.
Yes. I mean, it does worry one when gazettes come out at a time where people are taking a break and they're on their holidays and that. We've heard government say, yes, but government doesn't sleep. Well, that's fine, but they must know that their public and their tax-paying citizens need to take a break. And the law says that government needs to give a minimum of 30 days in response to these gazettes. It doesn't say a maximum of 30 days. And what we would like to have seen is government to say, look, because of the timing of this, we will allow 45 days or 60 days. But again, they cut it short, and it does smack of a situation which they're becoming well known for, that is not to engage meaningfully with society. Nonetheless, there's been an outstanding response from the public on this one.
Before we get to the public response, looking at the legal point of view, this particular gazette, as things stand right now, is that legal?
Well, we think it's not, and we see by the many submissions and taking input from legal-minded folk that this is not going to stand a constitutional muster for many reasons. But let me just say this, that the tolling, non-payment of tolling has been part of R2 anyway for a long time now, so this is not new. The fact, what is new is that government has never used R2 to force the non-payment of tolls. What we are seeing now is a regulatory change to include multiple entries so that they can accommodate non-payment of e-tolls into a traffic fine process. So they're treating non-payment of e-tolls as a traffic fine. Now the ramifications of that is non-payment of that leads to fines, leads to enforcement orders, leads to non-issuing of driver's licenses. And the sad thing about that is that driver's license is a legitimate tax. It's a tax which local metros and regions charge the road-using public for the use of those roads in their urban areas. Traffic lights are maintained through that process and so forth. Now, if they start to apply a delegitimized process of e-tolls, by the way, 91% of people driving on Gauteng's roads are not paying. The message is very clear from the public. This is an illegitimate and irrational process. If they want to put that into a very legitimate and rational process, they start to delegitimize those processes. They start to invite the public to take this boycott of e-tolls into boycotting driver's licenses and I mean vehicle license renewals and so forth. And that's not a healthy situation for the state to find itself in.
So that is actually jeopardizing legitimate income which the government is supposed to get.
Absolutely. I don't think the metros and the regional, provincial governments are going to be happy about this. Certainly we have heard a number of them saying this is going to be very problematic for them.
Now, yesterday was the deadline for the submissions from the public, and you said you had a very positive response. Tell me about
outstanding. That. I mean, you know, normally gazettes that require comments from the public and society and industry attract a couple of hundred, maybe at best 1,000 submissions. We've started to engage through social media with the public to say, look, participate. This is what this gazette is about. This is not a petition. This is a legal process, and government needs to consider input. And we're extremely in awe with the amount of submissions made. The last time we did this, we got 19,000 submissions. This time around, we got 118,000 and more submissions. That's just through the outer portal, by the way. And those were submissions made by those public members directly to the government officials. So this is active citizenry at its best. This is an indication that the public are now really coming on board and saying we've had enough. And SANRAL and the government have been very remiss in the past in saying, yes, it's only a handful of the public who are against e-tolls. Well, if this doesn't send that message loud and clear that that is not the case, well, then I don't know what else they need.
Now, in the second half of last year, motorists were told that 60% will be deducted from their bills if they pay between a certain period. How successful was that campaign by SANRAL?
It was an absolute failure. So what government and SANRAL are trying to do is they've got this carrot and the stick approach. The carrot was, we'll give you 60% discount of your past debt if you come on board. The stick is, we're going to impact you on your license. Well, the first thing was that they only got a 1% response. They got 5.9 billion rand e-toll debt outstanding. They've got 6 months to pay that off, and we were expecting about 500 million to closer to 1 billion rand of people uptake on that, and that would have still only indicated that half of the public was still against e-tolls. They only got 40 million rand uptake, less than 1%. So again, the public are sending a clear message. You can hang these carrots out there, SANRAL. You can try and entice us with these discounts, but we're not falling for that. We're not playing this game with you.
Will we see any further court action from OUTA against SANRAL on the matter on e-toll?
Absolutely. We will defend every one of our contributing members against any prosecution that they have for non-payment of tolls. We will take that into a space where people are licenses withheld. We will litigate, we will bring interdicts, we will take action against the authorities that do that, and we'll protect our members from that abuse as well. So yeah, the litigation process is by far over.
And in terms of the process with Etolls, is that still ongoing? Your fight is continuing as well?
Oh yes, it's never stopped. I mean, our strategy initially was to go the legal route after we spent a year of engaging with SANRAL saying, look, what you're doing is wrong and it's never going to work. All the stuff that we spoke about came to fruition. Once they launched, we said, well, then go ahead. The court set aside our case on a technicality. The collateral challenge still needs to be brought. So we haven't lost in court, as SANRAL keeps saying. And yes, our role now as a civil action movement is to protect society from this kind of abuse. And it matters most that government displays its responsibilities to society before it asks society to behave in the way that it wants to behave.
Now back to the Gazette, where the public might be fined for not paying the Etolls. What is the process now? The cut-off date was yesterday.
Yes.
What happens now?
So what happens now is the minister needs to display her mind that they've sifted through this input. There's a lot there, so it's going to be very interesting. No government department has received this amount of input before, and a lot of it's very, very good input. And she needs to make a decision. The Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Transport needs to also understand this. They need to listen to the input from political parties, from other institutions, and then weigh all of this up and say, well, if the ramifications are this serious and the backlash could be this big, then maybe this is not the right way to go. We're hoping that that's going to be the outcome. If not, and they forge ahead and push this matter in despite all of this overview from the public and outrage from the public, well, then we need to see what happens and what are the unintended consequences of that, and we know that they will be quite serious.
So Duvenage, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
That was the chairperson of the Opposition for Urban Tolling Alliance, Wayne Duvenage, in studio with us. And as you know, it's going to be an ongoing fight, he says. So we'll watch that with bated breath.